Okay. Good evening, everybody. Tracy here, and I have Nadia. Nadia, you are back east, and you are staying up so special for me.
Yes, that's because you are special, Tracy.
Oh, you're so wonderful, and so are you. But hi everybody. I'm back from 2 weeks off because of having family in town and being on vacation, and I couldn't think of a better way to go live again, but to have Nadia um, Headley on the broadcast tonight. So I've known you now probably a year and a half or so. I think
Yeah,
something, which I think, or more
yeah.
than that.
I can't even, you know what? Last year, we just kind of skipped over last year. I really can't even figure out where things happened.
Yeah, yeah. But yeah, I know we've known each other for some time now, and during that time of me meeting you, I was finishing my book, which you were so kind to read for me and to give a testimony for, and I was so grateful. And tonight, I want to honor you because you have a book coming out that I believe should be read by everybody. I was I was so impressed with it, and so everybody, oh, look at that beautiful cover.
The
Yeah.
author copy, you get to be the first person to see it.
Yay. But yeah, just having chatted with you during your process of writing the book and everything, and to do a official introduction, I want to give that for you. So Nadia is deeply empathetic, kind to a fault, highly energetic, and hopelessly optimistic. She has been through so many phases of life. There have been exhilarating highs and unimaginable lows. Somehow she always manages to see the good in moments when the bad is overwhelming. And I think that's the perfect introduction for why you wrote your book. So I'm going to be quiet. Please tell us about your book. And yeah, you have the floor.
Yeah. Well, first of all, I just wanted to say thank you to you, Tracy. Um, yes, for the platform and for giving me an opportunity to share. But I think one of the things I appreciate most about the sisterhood that has developed, over the past couple years is the kind of the reality of help, like making help practical. And so, to have you as an author that I could check in with and be like, okay, I got up at 6 a.m. this morning and I wrote a chapter, or I wrote, a couple pages, or crap, I didn't wake up this morning.
I know we had some really good conversations.
Yeah, that encouragement from you as a published author while I was trying to, find my way through it. I just wanted to say thank you to you for
You're
doing
so
that.
you're so welcome. I was so honored to have that opportunity to do that. I'm going to do one thing because, as always, there's something when we do live broadcasts, something goes awry. And so hold on. I think I need to reconnect something really quick. Um, shoot. Well, we are streaming. Oh, okay. No, we're good. We're still streaming on Facebook main page. We're just not, and we're still streaming YouTube, but we aren't to the Facebook business page. So we're good. I had this big flash go in front of my face that there was a problem, but we're still live. We're still on Facebook. We're still on YouTube. Okay. So sorry to interrupt you, but that's what happened.
I know, right? I know it's a new world and we're constantly figuring it out and
Yep.
troubleshooting and keeping the smile on and making it all work. I know.
Yes, absolutely. And and it's something that you talk about in the book is just things happen
Yeah.
and we go with the flow. So again, it was a pleasure and an honor for me to be able to be part of your author experience as well. So thank you. Yeah.
No, honestly, the process of writing itself is rewarding.
Mhm.
I had four chapters for about 2 years, and
Mhm.
then there was just nothing for a good while. you know?
Mhm.
And I decided coming into 2021, okay, this is the year I'm going to finish the book. And I figured, okay, I'll go slow, just start
Mhm.
off here and there. And then I thought, let me get a schedule and get some accountability partners to help keep me on track. And bless you. Bless you. Yes. And so then um, I started, throughout February and March to pick up
Mhm.
some momentum and to pick up a rhythm. And after we did the Black Her Story Month showcase in February and the
Mhm.
30 days of her story in March, and all of the affirmations on Instagram those mornings, I don't know what it did, but immediately after we shut down 30 days of her story, following that was Easter weekend. And in
Mhm.
Easter weekend, I knocked out 6 chapters and the book was done.
Yep.
And it was just amazing. It was as though I had written the book throughout the interviews in February and March and all the affirmations. It was as though the book was just pouring out of me, you
Mhm.
know? And I was connecting with myself, connecting with my intuition, connecting with my vision, my voice, taking
Mhm.
command of my version of the story and creating this life of victory.
Mhm.
And the book just kept evolving on its own. I felt as though it was telling me how to write it. And so the book is written, and I'm talking to my husband. I'm like, I have these poems from like years ago, and they kind of match the themes in some of the chapters. Maybe I should put them in. And he says, yeah, maybe you should record them, you know?
Mhm. Mhm.
So that seemed like a pretty innocent suggestion.
Yes, and so to help everybody that haven't seen the book yet, yeah, so at the end of each chapter, you have a poem that you wrote,
Mhm.
you know, some and gosh, easily 6 years or
Yeah.
more
Yep.
ago,
Yeah.
and then that fit with the chapter
Mhm.
in a way, and even more so tell your story,
Yeah.
of where you've come from and what's happened in your life, and then you also have the opportunity for us to listen to them. That was so
Yeah.
amazing. So she
Yeah.
sent me this sound bite, and there's beautiful music, and then she starts reciting her poetry, and yeah, it's absolutely amazing. Yep.
Yeah. Honestly, that was another self exploration and, this deepening of interacting with myself. With the poetry, I felt it was important because, especially in business, we come on, we have the smile, we have the branding, we got all these things going, and we're here to bring results for other people. And so we
Mhm.
constantly talk about delivering and delivering and delivering. And somewhere in there, we stopped talking about the reality of life. Sure, I've delivered this, but this is what it cost me. This is what I
Mhm.
was struggling with while
Mhm.
I was delivering on behalf of a client. This was my reality within myself, within my home, within my mind. This is life.
Mhm.
And I kind of wanted to take the mask off, take the polish off and just be vulnerable to say to all of our visionary women out there, we don't experience success in the absence of challenge. It's
Right.
all happening at the same time. And when we're willing to be authentic, to really open up and to allow others to peer in and to realize, okay, wait a minute. So she was doing this while she was doing that. These things are happening at the same time, and just let it be. This was my moment. This was my
Mhm.
valley moment,
Mhm.
right?
Mhm. Mhm.
And so I had to lead by example. I had to put that out there.
Mhm.
And then in my husband's innocent suggestion to record, because I can't just record. No, I had to go and find
a friend of mine, Sophia Soj Jackson, who actually sings the Her Story theme song.
I recognize her voice.
Yes. So she connected me to her production company. And I mean, these young men, talent, phenomenal talent, what they were able to do and how they guided me through the entire process. And so I came up with, I wanted music that represented different sides of me. So there is Bashment Soca from Barbados. There is a Latin beat because a lot of people don't know that I speak Spanish. There is Zouk, which is very like Caribbean French, Afro French music. There's an Afro beat in there. There's some hip hop. There's some R&B. There's all these mixes that also tell my story of where I've been and what I love, and so we were able to put the poetry to rhythm. And crazy enough, it's actually me singing too.
It is, yes. Yeah. So incredible. Wow.
So I was just phenomenal. Like, oh my gosh. Yeah, I was like, dude, like I can sing.
Yes, you can. Oh, I love it. I love it. Oh my goodness. Yeah. So tell everybody a bit more about you. I know you've been on my broadcast before, but some people may not know about you and what you do and where you came from. So fill us in a bit about that, because that's also why the book is the way it is your story. Yeah.
Yes. So I'm from the beautiful island of Barbados. We are the most easterly island in the Caribbean Sea. And arguably in the Atlantic Ocean, but hey, we stick close to the Caribbean. And, we call ourselves, we say we're 166 square miles of never-ending smiles. The island is 21 miles long by 14 miles wide, and I named my business after our dimension. So my business is called 2114 in honor of my country. And it's also this idea of the dimensions of who we are and how we are multidimensional and multifaceted, and how so much history and culture can be wrapped up in just a few digits, right? 2114. I mean, it tells such a massive story about who we are and where we come from. And so I wanted to reflect that in the book. I hold myself as a Caribbean woman, born in one island, but I really feel very connected to the region. And the world is my playground. I've lived in 4 different countries outside of the country of my birth, and I love to travel and to explore. And so there's some of that in there. And one of the points I wanted to bring out, I talk about a journey to Mauthausen concentration camp in Austria, and having that be the backing, that real actual experience be the backing of reading Viktor E. Frankl's book, Man's Search for Meaning, and again, just our ability to take these real life moments and attach very strong meaning to them so that we can learn from that experience that isn't necessarily pleasant while we're dealing with it. But as we are able to make real decisions about who we choose to show up as, how we choose to show up, who we choose to be in the moment, and I didn't realize I was doing it. I was putting into practice Frankl's idea that we can, in any given set of circumstances, choose our attitude, and let me tell you something. I was Madam Bombastic, big bad attitude. Okay. I was angry at the world. I did all of that as a teenager and a young adult. And so for those words to sink in there and really take root, so that when I was dealing with a cancer diagnosis, it was not the end of my world. There was the moment, but then I was able to make a choice. And I said, cancer is going to take part of my body. It's going to take time, it's going to take our money, it's going to take all these things away from us, but it will not take my personality. I am
Right.
going to be true to me. And so that was the context where the book was really birthed. I had the idea for the book for a while, but that was the moment when it had to be written, you know?
Mhm.
It had to be delivered to the world. So, yeah.
Mhm. Absolutely. And
Mhm.
when I read it, when you told the story about, being in Germany and or having, the story about getting there,
Mhm.
and how all that happened, and then, visiting, actually being inside the gas chamber and actually being
Mhm.
in that space, and how
Mhm.
it forever changed you, and all of the, it was a special trip, and I can't remember
Yeah.
what trip it was you were on. I
Mhm.
apologize, but that whole what just you telling the story impacted me
Mhm.
immensely, and,
Mhm.
with that concept that, yeah, what Victor said, as he survived all of that,
Yeah.
to step out and become such an influential
Yeah.
man, to all of us. But yeah. So when you told that story, you have so many incredible stories in there about how
Mhm.
you grew up, and the highs and the lows and these
Mhm.
valleys that you talk about.
Yeah.
So I don't know how much you can talk about, but again, like I said, I I'm gonna try and get some more tidbits, but
Yeah.
um, you challenge us in our thought process of
Mhm.
where are we living?
Right.
Um, yeah,
Yes.
and so talk about that a little bit if you could.
Yes, for sure. So the book is entitled Embracing the Valley. And growing up in a house where, there was uh, Les Brown and Zig Ziglar and a million Amway cassette tapes and Dream Big and We'll See You at the Top and all that kind of,
Yeah.
that vibrato was normal for me. I grew up on personal development. And so this imagery of being at the top, it fills us with so much like, yeah, let's do it, rah. Um, and then I realized that it's almost impossible to maintain,
Mhm.
right? And I was living my life for the highs, constantly chasing the next high, my next, my overachiever success. What's the next thing that what can I get a grade A on? What
Mhm.
can I be able to say I've done and accomplished and all of these things, and constantly searching for the highs and doing that with neglect of self. And it really honestly is a masculine perspective of winning, that you have to be conquering. To win is to win above and over others, as opposed to this calm victory, this idea that victory is mine and within me, that where I am, I'm winning. And so the valleys then took on this dark, hideous meaning for me. I was a failure. How could I do that again? Was I never going to learn what was wrong with me? And so
Mhm.
when other people spoke into my life along those lines, although the highs were public, in my personal relationships, where someone came in and said things like, oh, you're weak, I
Mhm.
believed them. And I believed them because I was telling myself that story. Because while I had the public highs, in my personal life, neglecting me, neglecting myself mentally, my own body, neglecting my spirit, neglecting all of these other parts of me just to prove the next point. And so I would believe the people who I thought saw the real me, because they saw my weakness and they saw my vulnerability, and they saw it in an attempt to take advantage of it, not to help me fortify myself. So I had to do that work. I had to take the time to do that work. And when we do that, we realize we can actually embrace every moment of life, the good, the bad, all of it, creates our story. And so I talk about, I kind of refute the analogy by just saying, let's just look at real life. If we look at a mountaintop, like a real proper mountaintop, it's snow capped, there's nothing going on up there. You can hardly breathe. There's no trees. You can't live up there. It's a great experience, but there's no life that is sustained. But in the valley, you got the birdies chirping and the bunnies are hopping and the rivers are flowing, and life actually happens in this place that we've been taught to hate. Right. And so how much of our lives are we not appreciating? We're not loving parts of ourselves. We're not loving parts of our story. We're down on ourselves for making bad decisions. Let me tell you something. I was the hardest person to forgive. I could forgive everybody else for everything they've done, but I could never forgive myself for such a long time. All of that took work. All of that took silence. It took moments of quiet. It took asking questions. It took seeking help, but then when the real trials came, I was able to face them as a completely different person,
Yeah.
And that is the embrace. And I just wanted to draw some attention to the painting that at the cover that covers the book. Let me just show it here.
Absolutely beautiful.
Yes.
Yes.
So this amazing young lady, her name is Grace Mia, and she painted this in a weekend. Don't ask. I don't know how that happens. You could give me a lifetime and I would not be able to, even if I had color by numbers, I wouldn't be able to come up with that, But I gave her the basic concept of the book, and this is what she came back with. And I said, I wanted this idea of a woman who's free, and this idea of being free to hold ourselves in our rawest form, bearing all the scars. These are my mastectomy scars, bearing the scars, loving ourselves in this moment, and this crown of beauty and wisdom and, life happening here. I mean, the way how she captured this, to me, this tells about half the story.
Yes, it's absolutely beautiful. And in the PDF that you sent, of course, there's no cover, and I was like, I want to know what the cover looks like.
Oh.
So I'm so excited. Yeah, it fits perfectly, and reiterate, one of the things I always was challenged with too, wanting to be achieving that I climbed this one mountain. I got to keep climbing. I got to keep climbing. I got to keep climbing, and being present where I was, it was hard to appreciate it. It caused stress, anxiety, but you really drive it home that really, we climb, we succeed something, and then we come back and get nourished and
exactly.
live amongst the trees, live amongst and all of a sudden we go back out again, and we can go at that goal, and then we come back and be with our community and things like that. It is true, as you noted, that there's that tree line, and above that tree line there's nothing. There's
nothing there.
No sustainability. There might be some odd insect that can live up there. You know what I mean? But I just loved how you said that, and it really drove home for me as well in my story, were things that I had, gone through as well, that we should, I don't want to use that word. We can embrace that valley where life is sustainable, and then, go out for those goals, and then savor them, and come back and go and do it again. And so it really inspired me. Completely inspired me.
I'm so grateful for that. So grateful for that. Yeah. Because, when we don't take that time to re-nourish, and we don't take time to recognize that within the trial, the provision has already been made, then the next time we try to go up the mountain, we try to repeat what we did the first time, and we're not seeing the same success. Why? And we're down on ourselves again, but we didn't take the time to be filled up. We didn't take that time. And so then the next trial, the next push, the next hard run for it, and we're getting older and life is going on. and the responsibilities are piling on, and all of these different things are happening at the same time. And so how do we manage? We manage by not fighting it, you know, not
Yeah.
fighting where we are, but embracing where we are, because whether right now sucks or right now is amazing, right now has purpose. And that for me has been the biggest key of all. Right now has purpose. Yeah.
I love how you say that. Right now has purpose. And one thing too you said was, you know, in um for me it was the housing crisis, lost my job, you know, so many of my friends lost their jobs, lost their homes, everything. It was just a real hard time, and I didn't handle it very well. You know, I was the job, I identified myself with that and all of this, and I just went through a lot of real, you know, hey, you know, what am I here for? What's my purpose? Or why is this happening to me? You know, all of that stuff. And I know, though, you know, I came out of it as a stronger person, more knowledgeable. I didn't like the lesson I had to learn by any means, and I didn't want it, but it made coming into this situation that we're in today, as you stated, when you know, found out you had breast cancer, but it made, you know, the things that happened to you prior helped you to go through the next challenge. And for me, it was when COVID hit. I was like, oh, great, here we go again. But I only, I handled it much better. I knew about being resourceful and figuring things out and trusting.
Yeah.
You know, trusting things. But, you know, again, and you're such a inspiration again, like I said, you know, everything you talk about in the book, what you've gone through, what lessons you've had to learn, and then winning and beating breast cancer. Phenomenal. And I'm so happy you're here with us still today, because you have a voice that we need to hear. So yeah,
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you know, just that what you said there before, like when COVID hit and you're like, okay, here we go again. But then you had tools that you were able to draw from. That's how her story as we know it, that's how it got, like, really got started. Because at the beginning of the pandemic, the question was, what does our community really need right now? They don't need sales. They don't need somebody to push something else in their faces right now. We're scared. We are confused. We have no idea what's going on. We were still talking about kids being out of school for 2 weeks at that point, right? We had no idea what was happening. And so I reached out to a few women and I said, hey, would you like to come on live with me on Facebook? And let's talk about a real life situation, not a hypothetical, a real life situation that you've gone through before. What was the one takeaway? What was the lesson that you learned from that? How can we apply that to what we're doing now? Because when we take that moment and we take stock, we realize that, you know, we have the fortitude, we have the power, we are able to think on our toes, we are able to, you know, to come up with new solutions. We can, right? And just like you said before, maybe we should embrace our valley, but I think the hardest thing is to accept that we actually can do it, that we have the power to do that. And so in the center of the book, and again, this was not one of the original ideas, this kind of came as I had written the book, but right in the center of the book, I take a minute to tell 9 stories. And I sat down with these women on Zoom. I think one was in person, but the rest were on Zoom. Women from all over the world, different backgrounds, you know, career-wise, ethnicity-wise, just all these different perspectives. And they talk about real life moments that they've gone through, from attempted teenage suicide to infidelity, to abandonment. One of those stories was from a woman whose mother abandoned her when she was a baby, you know, to miscarriage, not one, not two, but 3 miscarriages, you know, and the real life stories, gun violence against a woman's son, and how they're still making it work day in, day out. Because at the end of the day, these stories are what create the realness of our lives. These are the moments where we find ourselves. And so, especially in business, we tend to gloss over these moments. We tend to hold them a little close, to our chest, because we don't want people to know all the stuff that we went through, But as women, as visionary women, and we're leading our businesses and we're leading our nonprofit organizations, we actually crave this vulnerability. We crave a space to just let go and say, I am dealing with this right now. I'm hitting my targets at work. That's not a problem. But I have no idea where to just divest all of these raw emotions that I'm dealing with, help. And so when we are willing to start telling our stories, when we're willing to open up and face our stories ourselves, then it takes away the burden of the shame, the guilt, the pain that we carry. And that stops us from being able to deliver our vision. And so the healing process for the women involved was just incredible for me to be a part of. Because I'm telling them, I interview them, and then I write it on Zoom in front of them. I share my screen and I sit there and I write the story in front of them. And so I am telling their story back to them from a position of empowerment, And so for them to have that, not a mirror where they're telling themselves what they see, but a two-way mirror where somebody is looking through and painting the picture for them. This is what I see when I look at you. It was so powerfully transformative for so many of them as they went through the process with me. And now this gift has been given to so many other visionary women. And my daughter, my 7-year-old daughter, who just snuck in the bedroom,
good.
it threw me off a little bit. But she actually gave me, a massive suggestion. She said, Mom, at the end of the stories, you should leave a space so that people who buy the book can write their own story in.
I loved that part too. Yes. Yeah.
So I did it because it just made sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. I love that. Yep.
Yeah. And so if you go to the website, sorry, Tracy, if you go to the website, www.embracingthevalley.com, there's actually a free downloadable walkthrough on how to develop your story. So there are different steps that gives you a chance, like a workbook journal, how you can actually develop your own story. And if you're brave enough, you can send it to me and let me know.
That's awesome. So it's
embracingthevalley.com.
embracingthevalley.com.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to try and post that to see.
Awesome.
So hopefully that went onto YouTube. It looks like it won't post to Facebook, but at least it's posting in the comments on YouTube.
Yeah.
Well, what I loved about what you did, and again, you telling the stories of these other women. I remember too, just everyone has a story, and I think because we're so afraid of well, again, in social media world, all of that, but just also there's the concept of being perfect. You show up with a mask on at work. I've done that before. In the meantime, there's all this stuff happening behind the scenes in your life that you won't speak of. And it was very interesting. For a while, even just my growth through my business, writing my book was scary because I talked about some things that I had never talked about before. And I even had times when I knew I wanted to do this. I wanted to do this broadcast every week, but I literally felt like I had a chain closing off my voice because there were some things that I hadn't yet kind of dealt with and allowed to be spoken. And so I promised myself that, I'll figure out how to work through that, because as long as I'm stifling my voice, I can never become who I was supposed to be. And so when I
Yeah.
hear you talk, and I know, again, now I'm not alone in this, and
Yeah.
there's many women that we and men, we are afraid to speak our true as our true selves. And I think it's probably a DNA thing about that's stuck in this DNA of not wanting to stand out. We got to stay within the comfort tribe, and we don't want to be cast out. But how do we ever know who we really are, and how do we ever get the right people in our lives if we don't
Yeah.
speak our true
Yeah.
voice, So,
Exactly. Exactly. We got to
yeah.
venture out. And in her story, we've been talking about this. Like, we spent 3 months talking about our
Mhm.
vision,
Mhm.
connecting with our vision, reconnecting with our vision, defining it. I talked specifically about casting vision, especially as
Mhm.
leaders. And then, how do you cast vision without voice? And so we spent 3 months talking about that. I talked about uh, advocating on behalf of others, self advocacy. And soon we're going to have a conversation on the power of silence, which was really impactful coming out of our 30 days conversation that we had. And then we're going to go into version, taking over the narrative, writing our version of the story. Maybe
Mhm.
somebody cast you as a villain in their story. Maybe
Yeah,
you really were, you know?
exactly.
But you had some transformation, and now you can say, looking back, this was a
Yeah.
decision I made. This was the consequence. This is the lesson I've learned, and I'm telling you so that you can make better decisions. And so to be able to take the power of framing our stories ourselves, that's the next conversation we're having. And then the first 3 months of next year, we're talking about victory, right? Walking in
Mhm.
this life of victory, and not seeing victory again as the mountaintop, but seeing the
Right.
victory as, here, I am victorious where I am,
Mhm.
because I'm
Mhm.
choosing to connect with the depth of wisdom that I carry. I'm choosing to connect with my community. I'm choosing to be bold and to be brave. And bold and brave doesn't always mean loud and out there. Bold and brave,
Exactly.
I'm boldly embracing my story. I'm brave enough to face the reality of my story. The good stuff, the bad stuff, all the stuff, again, has purpose. And that's to
Mhm.
create our story.
Yes. Oh, phenomenal. Yes, so true.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just, one last thing I that came to mind again, is that, um, we are incredible beings. We have the ability to live on this planet in these incredible, amazing bodies that carry us every day. And, you know, the aspect of, um, realizing that we are worthy of taking care of it.
Yeah.
We are
Yes.
worthy of taking care of ourselves, and, um, and, walking this amazing journey that we've been gifted. Um,
Yeah.
and, um, so again, when I read your book, it just really helps solidify a lot of those things, and I'm so excited for you. I cannot wait for it to be available. Um, yeah, when is it available?
So, crossing fingers, if everything works well over the next couple days, we take pre-orders from October 1st, and the book would be officially available October 30th when we launch.
Exciting.
So go to the website, www.embracingthevalley.com. The launch is a free virtual event, so please register so that you can participate. There'll be lots of giveaways and lots of fun
Awesome.
stuff going on all throughout the launch. You'll get to hear a reading of the book. You'll get to hear a couple of the poems as well, and meet some of the people who were, hands-on a part of that journey, producing the book and the poetry album. It's going to be so amazing. And for me, it's just now this idea of, oh my gosh, I can't believe this happened. I'm
Yeah.
simultaneously an author and a recording artist. How does that happen?
I know. And what I love is you didn't foresee that. And that's what's so incredible about your book. There's just these aspects that showed up and became what it is. And
Yeah.
it's incredible. You know, it's so much
Yes.
bigger than what you had imagined, which is
So much, so
incredible.
much. And I mean, the way how, I mean, for you to just talk about how it has impacted you and how you were inspired, you know, honestly, that's the gold right there, you know?
Yeah.
And I wanted to mention as well, because we're here on your platform talking about our journeys and our
Yes.
journey with food, you know, all the while I was doing this. So first off, when I was waking up at like 5, I was waking up at 5 to write,
Mhm.
because then I had an exercise class at 6 in the morning, you
Yes.
know, and I had so much frustration because I'd recently had surgery and I couldn't get my body to do things I was accustomed to it doing, you know,
Mhm.
and, you know, after all the surgeries and the hormones and the steroids and just blah, all this stuff throwing into my body wasn't what I was accustomed to anymore.
Yeah.
And so I had to seek help. I had to say, listen, I used to be able to eat what I want and go for a walk and be fine. That's not
Yep.
happening anymore, you know? It's not happening anymore. And so just like little things, little tweaks. And for me, having other Caribbean women who know our food, then say, okay,
Mhm.
listen, you can have this, but maybe modify it this way, right? So instead of frying your plantain, maybe you want to boil it, maybe, you know, just like
Mhm.
the little tweaks, right? And trying to
Yeah.
find the different ways to approach it. The weekend that I finished the book, I don't know if I ate that weekend. I don't know. I don't know, I think I like finally got up and showered somewhere in there, you know, like I was just like clucking away at it, just going nuts on it. Um, and so I had to kind of reconnect with, as it was pouring out of me afterwards, I had to reconnect with, you know, that decision that this body is worth taking care of. I'm worth the
Mhm.
time that
Yeah.
it takes. I'm worth the extra dollars in the supermarket to buy, you know, the
Mhm.
organic or, you know, the
Yep.
extra vegetables, or, you know, not skimping on vegetables. Somewhere
Right.
in there, I decided that I am allowed to splurge on vegetables.
Yes.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes. So, gosh, you know, and the fact, you know, you wrote the book during all of this, you know, other stuff that was happening, you know, is incredible. And you know, and yeah, then when you reach that point that said, hey, I do need, you know, my body does need me, I'm worthy of taking care of it.
Yeah.
And you know, um you are meant to be here, you're meant to tell your story, and I'm so honored to know you and that you would be here tonight and celebrating your book with me. And so yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, I know it's late there. What time is it now?
uh,
It's going on 11
yeah.
for you.
My daughter snuck in the room
Uh-huh.
and made herself very comfortable on my bed and just like completely passed out and went to sleep.
Oh,
So
good for her. I love it. All right. Well, everybody,
thank you.
head over to that website, the
Yes.
embracingthevalley.com,
Yes, please.
embracingthevalley.com. Get on Nadia's list,
Yes.
you know, go ahead and go to her launch party. I'm excited. Yeah.
Yes.
And get her book.
Yes,
So,
absolutely. Get the book. It's coming out in all formats
yes.
on October 30th. All formats will be available. So hardcover, soft cover, ebook, audiobook. We're going to
Great.
be everywhere all at once. So there's no
Awesome.
excuse. We got everybody covered.
Okay, my dear. All right, everybody, we're going to sign off tonight. And congratulations again on being an
Thank you.
author. And I'll see you soon. Okay. Take care, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.